Journalist Ken Klippenstein did some amazing work. This is a really a major scandal, but it's getting next to no coverage. Trump's nominee for Health and Human Services recently served on board of HMS, a corporation that specializes in finding technicalities employers can use to kick people off their insurance. HMS, which Trump nominee Alex Azar served on board of directors for until November, published a white paper literally titled HR Leaders Seek Solutions to Rising Healthcare Benefits. Solutions to rising healthcare benefits. To them, rising healthcare benefits is a problem. Trump's nominee for Health and Human Services worked for a corporation that makes clients' employees sign a sworn affidavit stating whether their spouse is employed and can get coverage through their own employer. If so, their health insurance can be stripped. Trump's nominee for Health and Human Services was on the corporate board of a firm that makes money by kicking people off their health care insurance. Example, finding ways to remove common law spouses from their partner's health care plan. Trump's pick was on corporate board of firm that profits off dropping children from their health care plans. If the mother can't produce a birth certificate with the father's name on it, court order, child support order, or paternity acknowledgement. Okay, so let me give you some backstory on this. Health and Human Services. You know who's running it before? Tom Price. Congressman Tom Price. Congressman Tom Price is so corrupt, he somehow managed to violate corruption laws in the U.S., which are already massively lax. So he invested, I think it was $300,000 of his own money into medical device companies right before proposing a bill that increased the profits of medical device companies. So just such a corporatist, so corrupt, enriching himself through use of the government. And Trump picked that guy. Oh, he should be Health and Human Services Secretary. So he became Health and Human Services Secretary. At some point he stepped down, and he stepped down, get this, I love this, because he took taxpayer-funded charter flights, taxpayer-funded private flights. I love how that's the scandal. See, this is why mainstream media makes no sense, and the things that get legs, it makes no sense. Because that's a scandal, but that's much less of a scandal than him fucking personally enriching himself through proposing bills after investing in these companies that he then went on to help. That's a giant scandal. But that one barely mentioned, didn't take off. The one, taxpayer-funded charter flights, that was the one where he's like, okay, I'm going to step down. It's unbelievable. But he stepped down, and now Trump's pick is just as corrupt, if not more corrupt. The guy's whole fucking job was, okay, how can we screw people out of healthcare? So in other words, companies come to this company and say, hey, we pay a lot for our employees to have health insurance and healthcare. We need to save money on that front. Can you help us with that? And they go, sure. Our whole job is to find ways for you to save money in giving healthcare to your employees. And shock, the way they do it is not with a fucking magic wand. What they do is they cut costs. How do you cut costs? I don't know, try to force out spouses who are covered through the plan that, your worker has. Try to get kids off of that health insurance. Try to find ways to deny health insurance and health care to people in order to pad the bottom line and make more money. Donald Trump and the Republicans looked at this guy and said, bingo, that's who we want for Health and Human Services Secretary. Somebody whose whole job was to try to deny people health insurance. This is Fox guarding the henhouse 101. This is the same as Scott Pruitt as the head of the EPA. The guy who sued the EPA over a dozen times and is buddy-buddy with the oil companies and has taken, $350,000 from them? From energy companies? That's like saying, yeah, he should be the head of the EPA. Because he's totally bought and owned by fossil fuel companies. This is the same thing. The guy who's in bed with, private, for-profit health insurance companies, yeah, let him be the guy who's in the Health and Human Services Secretary. By the way, you ready for this? 6 Democrats put him over the top. Including Doug Jones. Doug Jones, lovely Doug Jones, who everybody was so, oh yeah, Doug Jones wins. Thank God he's not a fucking pedophile. That's the only requirement that he needed in order to win. And then, by the way, women of color really put him over the edge there. The turnout for African Americans was through the roof in that election. He immediately stabs them in the back. Let's pick a Health and Human Services secretary who's going to help further gut Obamacare, because Health and Human Services is in charge of many aspects of Obamacare, who's going to help further gut Obamacare, which screws over low-income people. So Doug Jones screws over the people who just voted to get him elected. And you know who else supports this guy? Joe Manchin. 6 Democrats put him over the edge. Not even every Republican voted for this guy. 6 Democrats put him over the edge. I love how Joe Manchin is so stupid. He's convinced that, like, you know, oh, if I'm a bigger sellout, I have a better chance of winning in my election in West Virginia. What? No, Joe, I know you're an idiot and you think, oh, West Virginia likes Trump, therefore I have to agree more with Trump. But no, that's not the way it works, you jackass. Bernie Sanders gave a town hall in West Virginia and got a standing ovation when he called for Medicare for all and free college and a living wage. A room full of Trump supporters gave a populist left agenda a standing ovation. So if they didn't like Trump just because he's Trump and because he's a Republican, they liked him because of some of the populist shit he said, like, I'm not going to outsource your job. I'm not going to cut Social Security and Medicare. But Joe Manchin, in his infinite stupidity, is like, I'm just going to agree with Republicans all the time when they do corrupt shit and sell out the middle class, and that'll help me win. No. Joe, you're either going to lose to a Republican or you're going to lose to Paula Jean Swearengin in the primary because of shit like this. You voted for one of the most corrupt guys in the country to be the head of Health and Human Services Secretary. There's no part of that that's moderate. There's no part of that there's an ideological or philosophical argument for it. That's just you being a douche who's politically calculating shit and selling out. That's all that is, Joe. This is so frustrating. But there you have it. Great work from Ken Klippenstein exposing how insanely corrupt the government is, how insanely corrupt the Health and Human Services Secretary is now, and how both parties are totally cool with it. The Republicans are all for it, almost all for it. Democrats, you got enough corporate Democrats to push this guy over the edge, and the American people get screwed in the process.